Let's knit this comfy, chunky, oversized cowl with this awesome stitch pattern right here. Looks great on both sides. Look at that, just beautiful. I love these knots. They look like little flowers. I think you'll like them too. Just get your loom round or long with at least 38 pegs and approximately 243 yards of bulky number 6 yarn. Hey, it's Denise from loomahat.com. For more information, visit the website or see the description below. Alright, let's begin with the cast on. We're going to be using one strand of the bulky yarn, and I'm going to secure it here to the anchor peg with a simple knot. You can use a slip knot if you're more comfortable, and then take the working yarn behind peg 1 and we're going to wrap 38 pegs. By the way, you can go left or right. It has no effect on the pattern, but it's just easier if you follow me. Alright, let's wrap those 38 pegs. Alright, so you're finished and we're knitting flat. So we're going to take the yarn, push down the loops a little, and now turn direction to knit that first peg. And we're going to be using the U-wrap version of the knit stitch. So that means we're going to half wrap the peg and then knit off. And go to the next one and do the same thing. Half wrap and knit off. And just continue to do that. You're going to do that all the way back to peg 1. Once you knit off peg number 1, that means that you're done with your cast on and you're ready for rows 1 through 58, where we're going to do the purl and 8 stitch, which was designed by Stephanie May. Okay, keep in mind that we are working flat, so every time you start a row, the first thing you're going to do is to do a knit stitch on peg 1. Now you're ready to start the purl and 8 stitch pattern, which requires you to have your working yarn between pegs 1 and 2. Now wrap peg 2 first, and then you're going to take that working yarn and go back to peg 1, and you're going to wrap that peg. Now your working yarn again is in the middle, and you'll see that you have formed a figure 8. Because the first step in this stitch pattern is to do a figure 8 stitch. Now keep a hold of your working yarn right there between the 2 pegs and knit off pegs 1 and peg 2. Get your working yarn and you're going to bring it forward, and we're going to do a purl stitch on peg 2. To do a purl stitch, take your hook and from the top scoop up, create a new loop, and you're going to then take the old loop off the peg, put the new loop on the peg, and tighten. And there you go. That is the purl and 8 stitch. All you're going to do is repeat that process. So we're going to now wrap our new peg 2, go back to the new peg 1, and again you are forming that figure 8, which is the first part of this stitch. Hold on to your yarn with your fingers and then take your hook and you're going to knit off pegs 1 and 2. And again, you need to go get your yarn, bring it forward, and we're going to do a purl stitch on that peg 2. So scoop up the yarn, create a new loop, take the old loop off your peg and put a new loop on. And every time you do that, you now have a new peg 1 and peg 2. So wrap pegs 1 and 2, knit off, bring the working yarn back forward, and you're going to do your purl stitch on peg 2. And you notice that I'm constantly saying peg 1 and peg 2 because every time you complete this process, you now have a new peg 1 and 2, and you're going to do the same process. Wrap pegs 1 and 2, knit off, right? Bring the yarn forward and purl peg 2. You're going to continue to do that until the last 2 pegs. So just keep knitting, and I'll tell you the next step when you get to those last 2 pegs. So here we are, and the only thing that's going to change here, right? Sorry, we're not there yet. Let's knit these off. Do the purl stitch. Sorry. Right? Do your purl stitch here. And now after you do the purl stitch, you're on the last 2 pegs. And the only difference here is that you're going to go ahead and wrap pegs 1 and 2. You're going to knit off and you're done. You're not going to purl that last stitch. You're done with this row and you're ready to start a new one. And again, to start the new row, you're going to knit that first peg. See, right here you're done. You're done with that row. And your new row starts by you knitting that peg, which in this case is peg 38. That is the end of your row. You now started a new row. You knit peg 1. We're going in this opposite direction. So here's peg 2, there's peg 1, because again we're going in an opposite direction. We're going to knit off and do the purl stitch on peg 2. And then you start the same process you've been doing. The only difference is that pegs 1 and 2 are in different locations because we turned direction. Right? So do your figure 8, knit off, bring the working yarn forward, and do the purl stitch on peg 2. Okay, you're done with row 2 and we're ready for row 3. So you're going to knit that first peg and start the pattern again. You're going to need a total of 58 rows to have a 20 by 30 inch fabric, and then you're ready to connect. Alright, let's start. Here is my end, and I am going to look for that first stitch right here. And it doesn't look like it. You'd think it was this one because it's a bigger, but it's that one. It's that really tiny short one. So I'm going to pull my fabric, that first row, that was the cast on row. I'm going to push it through because I want to remount those 38 pegs back right over. Now you see how I fold it, right? I fold in, like right over. And then I bring it in, and I'm going to look for that little tiny odd loop. And it's easier to get if you have your hook and just kind of stretch it out. That makes it easier when you're ready to remount. Okay, and I know it's easy to miss, so just try to look for it because you want to have enough stitches. You want to have 38 stitches to put back. And you have them as long as you pay attention that those ones on the end are kind of shorter, kind of tighter and funky looking compared to the other ones. Now as you remount your stitches, you'll notice that I pull on mine. That's just to make sure that I have enough of them when I reach the end. So every time I put one on, I kind of pull on it, and that's going to keep things evenly distributed. And I do grab my hook sometimes and pull on it a little bit extra as well. And as you're reaching your end, you're going to be ever so thankful that you did this. Now, just like the first stitch that I remounted, the last one, just like it, is a little odd. So here we are at our last two, and you see that it's a little tighter on those last two. So let's do a close-up here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm putting on this last one here, and you got to kind of stretch it out, and that's why I was pulling on the other ones to make sure I had enough fabric there. The very last one is just, it's an oddity. What can I say? You got to do your best to find it and then remount it. You have enough stitches to remount all 38 pegs. Then get the working yarn off of each end. You'll find that each one has some yarn, and just make a knot. Or in my case, I make two because I want to make sure that it's not going to unravel. And there you have it. And now get your hook, and you're going to knit off all of your pegs. And the ones on the bottom are going to be tighter than the ones on top. And every so often you're going to find that you kind of need to hold on to that top one in order to knit the bottom over the top. And it happens. You know, just do your best and don't worry. Just knit off, and once you knit them off, you've secured that fabric, and it will work out and everything will look perfect. And there we have it. That was the last one. And now you need to get your needle. I'm using a metal needle. These are just work so much better. Try to get them if you can. They're much better to work with than the plastic ones. And thread your needle with your leftover yarn. That yarn actually wraps around the loom about 2 times. Come from the bottom up with that working yarn. That's what was left over, and that skein leaves you about that much yarn, just a perfect amount. And then you're going to go this time on peg 2 from the top down. So you're going to do the opposite, right? Peg 1 was from the bottom up, peg 2 was from the top down. And now you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go from the bottom up on the next peg, and the one that follows you're going to do from the top down. Now let me tell you a little trick how you know in which direction you should go. If you look at the yarn, it is on the bottom, and that means you're going to go from the bottom up on the next peg. And this one's going to leave you your yarn on the top, which means the next peg you're going to go from the top down. So it's almost like I don't know what to call it, like a cheat thing. It just tells you which direction you should go with your needle. You know, bottom up, top down, bottom up, top down. Keep going all the way. Make sure you don't miss any of your pegs. All of your loops have been secured. You're on your last one. That's peg 38. And once you do that, you can take your hook and take the loops off of the pegs. And it's super secure. You're connected. Once you take all these loops off your pegs, you are free from your loom. Your project is basically done. And look how great that technique works. You can't really tell. And once you stretch your stitches out, and you can block this if you like. I didn't. And I find that it looks great. See? And then you're ready to finish it off. You do want to even out this row perfectly. And so it's a good idea to take your needle and feed it through the top on some of the loops. And this is going to even that out so everything looks exactly the same side. There are no oddities. And then just weave it in. And this is how I weave in my ends. I just go through several loops upward. Sometimes I'll make a knot, sometimes I don't. It's always preferable to make one, in all honesty. So here's a loose knot, and then I go in the opposite direction. I go down. I just want to make sure that my work is not going to unravel. There aren't going to be any loosey strings, and then I pull on it and cut, and it hides. It's gone. You see that? You can't even tell me where it's at. Once I move this a little bit, you're going to do the same thing on the other side. And this is from when I connected the skeins of yarn, and I'm going to give you a link to a video to see how to connect one skein to another. You know, once you run out of yarn, how to connect. But basically, I'm just making a knot in order to connect the two pieces of yarn. It took me 3 rolls, 3 skeins, 3 balls of yarn in order to finish this project. And I'm so in love with it. I love this stitch. Make sure, if you like stitches like I do, that you check out my playlist. It has lots of cool stitches. I'm sure you'll find one that you like. Alright guys, this is it. Check me out on the next project. Another cool stitch again. And I want to thank Carol from Promise Learning ATL and Loic for covering the cost of closed captioning. Alright, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and please share this video because that helps me a lot.